And to your point, and I'll proceed what I'm about to say with, she was heavy on her facts, on information, on experience, on what to say about Donald Trump's record and what her own plans were. So now I'm going to go into the next part of this, which is the optics of it, because this is TV. And Donald Trump was, until last night, the king of TV, Mr. The Apprentice, Mr. You're Fired. And he was told by Kamala Harris point blank last night, you were fired by 81 million people. And I believe it went downhill for him from there. And it was her face, the optics of her face, listening to him talk, which was a cross between, I can't believe I'm listening to this blowhard lie his butt off, and at the same time, I kind of feel sorry for him because he's so pathetic.
There were a couple of times that pity shone through there, just like viewers every morning
like,
watching this show.
Are you okay?
Looking at me, asking the same question. Are you okay, Joe? Or are you okay? No, I'm not. And that's why we have a lot of guests with us. So let's bring her in now. Former MSNBC host and contributor to Washington Monthly, Chris Matthews, reporter for the Washington publication Notice, Jasmine Wright. She extensively covered the Harris's 2020 presidential campaign, and David Ignatius is still with us. Chris, you've seen a lot of these debates, and we're obvious. We've talked about the obvious here. We've talked about how bad Donald Trump looked. We talked about how well Kamala Harris did. Let's talk about, though, what we were talking about the morning after the June debate. And I kept talking about all of the missed opportunities that Joe Biden had, all of the layups that he couldn't put in, all of the easy shots that just didn't go. We could say the same thing about Donald Trump. Any sane Republican running last night would have stayed on Afghanistan, would have stayed on 9% inflation, would have stayed on high grocery bills, would have stayed on gas prices skyrocketing over the past several years, would have even moved in on the deficit and the debt, even though Trump was weak there. There were so many things that he could have talked about and stayed on them. He just couldn't do it. And that's, again, the Wall Street Journal opinion writers who are clearly cheering for Donald Trump and are clearly against everything Kamala Harris stands for. They basically said the same thing. Kamala Harris had a free walk in the park last night because of Donald Trump's idiocy. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what they said.
Well, the problem is, David Axelrod once said in an article I read when Obama was running in 2008 that every changed election is an opportunity for the outsider, the newcomer, to lambaste the incumbent.
Right.
Mm-hmm. What she did last night was flip the table. She said, wait a minute, you're raising a national sales tax. That tariff of yours, she wouldn't even call it a tariff. She said he's going to raise taxes of $6,000 a couple, right, a family. She made him play defense on inflation. How did she do that? Well, she just did that right up front with the sales tax.
The Trump sales tax. She talked about the Trump abortion bans. I mean, again, that's a wild thing that Donald Trump didn't at some point turn to her and go, wait a second, you've been in the White House for 3.5 years.
She didn't do it.
But Trump could not do that. He was so addled last night, Chris.
She showed, I don't even like talking about IQ because it's so basic. She is so smart. Her stereophonic attack on him, roasting him like a pig for the first half hour. He was fevered, and you can look at his face. He was Captain Queeg. Yeah. He was the guy looking for the frozen strawberries
were. Who took his
nuts.
Strawberries?
And she did that. And in one hand, I looked at the watch. I said, I got an hour to go here.
I know.
And he's already roasting here. He's finished. She revved him up, and then she delaced him. I thought she was frisky. That's the right word for it. She wasn't sardonic. She wasn't looking down on him. She was just enjoying his roasting. And then she threw more wood on the fire with this thing about the crowd size. She knew that was the button. That's the weird button on that guy.
Yes.
Besides, look at the crowds he had at the mall. Bigger than Martin Luther King, bigger than anybody. And she knew if she could say that. And then she said they went away because they went away early because they were bored. The word bored. You're boring. You're a boring man, Donald Trump.
And Jasmine, that's, again, going back to the Wall Street Journal opinion page. I'm going back to it because they clearly want Donald Trump to win. But even they said Kamala Harris kept baiting Donald Trump and he was dumb enough to take the bait every time.
Yeah, it's actually fascinating. I was talking to a Trump spokesperson in the spin room last night in Philadelphia, and they said, I was actually surprised that she confronted him so many times and that she confronted him in untruthful ways. I think you can debate about whether or not what she said was truthful, but the surprise about her confronting him, I thought that was pretty incredible because the vice president's campaign has signaled for the last 3.5 weeks that they were going to confront him, not necessarily tit for tat, but they were going to goad him, they were going to bait him because that is the way that they felt that they could make the best contrast between personality and presidential readiness between the former president and the vice president. So that's what you saw her do time and time again on crowd sizes, calling him weak on national security, calling him somebody who likes dictators, who wants to be a dictator, all these things that we know. Yes, saying he was confused and it was hard for him to process the loss of 2020. All these things that they very well know is a trigger to Trump. And for his part,
his military leader said he was a disgrace.
Time. This is a campaign, one last thing, that is very excited about what Harris did last night because they thought that
Jasmine,
the prep was there.
As you were saying, she confronted him.
Yeah.
We were showing a picture, Alex and the crew
were
showing. It's perfect timing. That's what I wanted to say. Well, this is where it started. Donald Trump did not expect her to go over and shake hands.
She kind of chased him a bit, right? She went up. I mean, seriously, I was watching it in the spin room, and I was like, oh, my gosh. Because I was joking with my friends. Is she going to shake his hand or not?
He doesn't like to shake hands.
And, he's a germaphobe. And so she walks across the stage, and he's kind of like meandering a little bit. And then she goes and chases him behind the lectern. I think that was a surprising moment. That was the first strike to kind of get him off the kilter. Now, I will say that her first opening remark when she was talking about the economy and what she was doing, that was a little shaky. You could tell that she had a bit of nerves.
She was nervous.
The vice president is a person who gets nerves. We saw it in 2019. But she really stabilized, particularly after, Chris, to your point, that crowd-sized moment.
I thought it was interesting, Mika, that she sounded a little nervous at first. And then at some point, maybe it was the crowd size. I don't know what it was. But at some point, she laughed. And she said, oh, wait a second. I got this guy. It's kind of like...
Yeah, you can see
and forgive me, I'm a guy. I'm an old guy, so there's always sports references and there's boxing, but you can see boxers where they go in and they would dance around each other. And at some point, one of the boxers says, oh, wait a second. I've got this guy. I'm going to either knock him out now, I'm going to play with him for a while. And she realized pretty soon into last night, she said, I got this guy.
So, Chris Matthews, I want to ask you about Pennsylvania because, of course, I turned it on Fox after. And the main hosts, the people, there with credibility, were saying that she won the debate. But then it devolved from there. And this morning, Trump was on there, and there's every acrobatic measure being taken to make it look like Kamala lied her way through the debate and Trump won. In Pennsylvania, does the debate matter, or will they just continue to watch where they want to watch and stay in that spin?
Well, David Brooks had a great piece this weekend in the Times about the actual big picture reasons why Pennsylvania may be difficult. It's the college thing. People that went to college are lucky. They had a great break in life. Their genes were right. Everything was great. The people that didn't go aren't even thinking about their kids going. It never comes up in the family conversations where you're going to college. You're going to try to get into Penn, or what are you going to do? Penn State. There's no conversation like that. They feel shut out. And in Pennsylvania, you have a lot of people, working people, white people, I guess you could say, and black people, but it's a sense of you're cut out. And that's all across the state, from Pittsburgh to Philly. It's all there, and you can see it. And so I think that's still there. The other thing is this one to change. NBC has historically said the key question to ask in an election is, do you want a new direction? Are you satisfied with the direction? It's 2-1 against. So last night, she had to shatter all the magnetic, big-time fact that is going to affect how people vote, how they're doing in life financially, personally, and how they think their group is doing. And I think she broke it in the night. But this is going to come down to be a real close election, because those factors are there.
She turned that around also, though. The question of, do you want to break from the past? And Mika, again, maybe it's because she was great. Maybe it's because Donald Trump was bad. Maybe it's somewhere in the middle. But if you were tuning in and you were trying to make up your mind.
Yeah.
Donald Trump was the past. And she was the future. And that's how she painted it.
He couldn't even answer as to whether or not he wanted Ukraine to win. And here he is. And we're talking about Pennsylvania.
A lot of Polish people watching.
Yes.
In
Dzień
Philadelphia.
dobry, jak się masz? Tak, roll it.
If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. And understand what that would mean, because Putin's agenda is not just about Ukraine. Understand why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president, and that we understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO, and what we have done to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
You know, a lot of times there are people that come on the air after debates. Oh, it was just showbiz. Oh, it was just this. Oh, it was just that. And a lot of times it really is. But I will tell you, it'd be something, wouldn't it, if they had a debate and the truth broke out?
Yeah.
And David, that's exactly what happened. I mean, she said, and I say this to a man who's written columns about many of the things that Donald Trump did, the Abraham Accords and some other things that you supported and said he should be saluted for. Here, though, in Ukraine, I mean, Kamala Harris correctly points out what all Europeans fear, that if he's elected, you know, or most Europeans fear, let me say, if he's elected, then Ukraine falls, Putin moves into Kyiv, and they're looking straight at Poland.
So, you know, Joe, we've talked a lot about the way she triggered him, the way she got him to act really crazy. But I think in some ways the most important thing that she did last night was to show in a you know, clear, deeply impressive way that she can be commander-in-chief. That she took all of Trump's usual language about strength and, you know, being tough, and she turned it around against him. You know, you're a disgrace. You're weak. And then she talked about her own personal experience as a national security leader meeting with Zelensky. You know, I told Zelensky that the Russians were coming, and here's what they'll do if they succeed, if you become president. So I think, you know, everybody watching this debate wanted to know, Kamala Harris, all this excitement, all this sense of change, but can she be a good president? Does she have the strength to be commander-in-chief? And you got strong evidence last night that the answer to that is yes.
And what a turnaround, Mika. Putin will eat you for lunch.